Good afternoon, Chaos. This is Kailatos here, your friendly Legion's leader, here to do another strategy video for the Sith Raid. This one is going to be either a Phase 1 or a Phase 4 group under the Darth Nihilus leader. Now, this group specifically, I think, works best against Darth Nihilus in the raid because Darth Nihilus's lead strips all Sith of their protection. So no matter when you hit Nihilus in the raid, you never have to worry about giving him protection back. So because you never have to give him protection back, you can hit with impunity, and it really doesn't matter if you guys have the defense down debuff or not. Now, like I said, this group starts under Darth Nihilus, and I will say the Strength of the Void Zeta makes a huge difference because it gives your guys 150% health steal. So 1.5 times all the damage they're going to be doing is stolen back as health. And this leader ability also gives them 60% offense, and that combined with the passive in the raid of plus, I think it was 30% offense, makes your guys hit almost twice as hard. So with this Strength of the Void leader ability, your Sith are hitting insanely hard. So this group is going to get those really hard hitters under the Sith and kind of try to boost them up as much as possible and really just nuke down Nihilus as much as you can. Now you'll see I've got Nihilus here modded for speed because you do want him to get his Annihilate as often as possible. With that, most of his other abilities, most of his other stats don't matter too much. You do kind of want to get his offense up a little bit, and it may sound strange, but I actually might want to find some other mods and not give him as much protection. Because with the added protection, the opposing Nihilus' drain force is just doing more damage. Because at least in regular, it does 40% of the opponent's health as damage. So I actually might want to get his protection down, because right now it's going to be doing a ton of damage. And because Nihilus's base damage is so low, maybe we don't want to get that so much. So that's one thing I could change here. Now, the Lord of the Hunger, I do have the Zeta. However, I don't think that this Zeta is necessary. Because all it does is inflict health down on an enemy for 2 turns, and bosses are immune to health down. So it could be useful for ad control, but it's not that big of a deal. So at least in the raid, this particular leader ability is going to be a big deal. Now, the first Sith I would place under Darth Nihilus would be the Sith Assassin. The Sith Assassin, just because she can speed up your group tremendously. Now, you might think that, okay, one of the mechanics of the Sith Assassin is that if you use her basic attack, when the enemy is debuffed, she gains stealth. Now, you might think, but Hekalatos, Darth Nihilus has stupid tenacity, so he will never have a debuff on him. Why does it matter? It does. Because there are debuffs that can be applied, and if you apply him at the right time, his tenacity isn't any higher than any other boss in the game. So, with this strategy, the enemy Darth Nihilus will have a debuff on very often. So, leave it at there. So, exploit weakness, get stealth every time she uses it, and then you will cast Dark Shroud. And when she casts Dark Shroud, she will have hopefully 5 buffs, which will in turn give all of the Sith 60% turn meter. Big deal. You have to have the Omega here on Dark Shroud. Otherwise, your turn meter gain is not going to be as beneficial. And then the next turn, you will Electrocute, which ignores protection. So you're going to be doing a bunch of damage even if you open up with this. So Dark Shroud and Electrocute share the same number of turns for a cooldown. So except for when the enemy Darth Nihilus uses Drain Force, every time you use Dark Shroud, Electrocute's going to come up the next time. So it's really a very simple order of you work her abilities from left to right. As they become available, Exploit Weakness, Dark Shroud, Electrocute. Exploit Weakness, Dark Shroud, Electrocute. It's very simple, and you just go through that rotation, and voila. You have 60% turn meter every 3 turns for Sith Assassin, who you're trying to speed up as much as possible. You'll see I have 122 speed on my Assassin right now because, I take my fastest speed set from my arena and put it on my characters. Now, the reason that I say the enemy Darth Nihilus will have a debuff on them at all times is because this group runs Darth Sion as its tank. Now, Darth Sion really needs to have his Zeta, Lord of Pain. So, the Zeta, at the end of each turn, Sion inflicts pain for 3 turns on enemies who damaged him that turn. So, for Sion, whenever he gets hit, he inflicts pain. Now, this is nice because at the end of the turn. So, the way Darth Nihilus, the enemy Darth Nihilus in the raid, the way his mechanic works is he is gaining tenacity and speed every time he gets hit until the beginning of his next turn. So, at the beginning of Nihilus's turn, his tenacity resets to its base value. And when it resets down to its base, he hits Sion and he gets the pain debuff. Now, this might not happen right away, but there's a very good chance that when the enemy Darth Nihilus does his AoE Drain Force, he's going to end up with pain. And once he gets pain, he's going to be constantly hitting Darth Sion because Darth Sion gets taunt. And because he keeps hitting Darth Sion, he keeps getting pain reinflicted. So the enemy Darth Nihilus should get pain up the entire time. Now, in addition to that, helping out your Sith Assassin, whenever Darth Sion hits an opponent that has pain, it acts like a death mark. So, whenever Darth Sion hits Darth Nihilus, he's inflicting damage as if Darth Sion were afflicted by a death mark. So he's going to be doing a ton of extra damage. And on top of that, Sion will have 100% defense against enemies with pain. So when Darth Nihilus hits Sion, he's going to do jack for damage, and he probably won't get defense down inflicted because he'll have 100% tenacity, plus 100% tenacity. So it is a very big deal that you get all this together, and if you can, speed up your Darth Sion, as well as add in some modest offensive stats, your Sion is going to be hitting ridiculously hard. His break will is not a massive damage attack, but it hits super, super hard. I've seen it hit the Rancor for like 55,000 on crit. So you're going to be hitting Darth Nihilus probably for 25 to 30,000 when Nihilus has pain on him. And if he has pain, you're going to do an additional 50,000. So every 4 turns, Darth Sion is going to be doing close to 100k damage on 1 turn. So Sion is a big deal to have in this raid, especially under a Darth Nihilus lead. Now, Darth Nihilus, Darth Sion, and Sith Assassin, the 3 of them go really well together. With that said, what other Sith to use? Now, my choices are narrowed down by what Sith are not used in another group. So my choice that I have to use with them is Savage Opress. Now, Savage Opress is not a bad option here. The only bad thing about Savage is that he gets so many buffs, and so sometimes the enemy Darth Nihilus can strip him of his buffs and gain offense and defense up. So while Savage does work good in this group, I think there are better options. Now, for myself, I also put Darth Maul in this group because Darth Maul, though he has a very small health pool, is an incredibly hard hitter. And especially once you get his unique stacked up a couple times, which is not that difficult to do if you use Darth Maul to take out the ads. Now, when Maul is taking out the ads, he's going to get more and more health, and he's going to gain potency equal to a part of his health. So Darth Maul could possibly be landing debuffs with his Whirling Blades and dazing Nihilus, or even inflicting no other debuffs, never mind, inflicting daze on Nihilus, which if the assassin debuff or assassin ad is up there, it could definitely help slow him down. Now, the Zeta for Darth Maul is not necessary in this group, as well as the Zeta for Savage. While we like Savage's unique Zeta, it's not exactly necessary because you'll find that PvE bosses do not crit much. So Savage is not going to be doing much self-cleansing. I think if I had the gear available, I would prefer to use Count Dooku over Savage Opress, because Count Dooku, even though he hits like a wet noodle, I think with the Darth Nihilus lead and the passive bonuses to Sith, he could get some pretty decent damage out. Now, one of the reasons that Sith Assassin, Darth Maul, and I think Count Dooku would work really well is, one, you have a super strong tank in Darth Sion, but also Darth Nihilus's health steal will mean that the low health pools of Darth Maul, Sith Assassin, and Count Dooku are not as big of a liability. Okay, because they do such high damage, going as often as they do, they're going to refill their health meter quite a bit. Okay, now as they refill their health meter, you're going to find that they're going to live a lot longer. So the key to this group is the Zeta Strength of the Void on Darth Nihilus, as well as the Zeta Lord of Pain on Darth Sion. So there you have it. That would be my recommendation for a Phase 1 or a Phase 4 Sith group. A Darth Nihilus lead with a Darth Sion, Darth Maul, Sith Assassin, and either Savage Opress or Count Dooku. Now, with that said, in Phase 1, you have the Unbreakable Will. Now, the Unbreakable Will, your ideal place for that is Darth Sion if you can get Held by Hatred up. If Held by Hatred is up, or you can get Held by Hatred right after Nihilus does his Annihilate on the character that has Unbreakable Will, you can instantly get 100% health back. Otherwise, being at 1 health is not an issue, because if you have his Hatred debuff or his Hatred buff, he will resurrect himself after he dies. So if he gets hit after he drops Unbreakable Will, not a big deal. Other than that, it's totally okay on Darth Maul, Sith Assassin, Count Dooku, Savage Opress. They all hit very, very hard. So that damage, or being at that only 1 health, is offset by their ability to refill their health meter so quickly. The one word of caution, though, if Nihilus gets Unbreakable Will, your Nihilus, and he gets reduced to 1 health, he will not be able to make it back up in time to get his health to the level where the opposing Nihilus' Drain Force won't kill him. So anybody but your own Nihilus is a good option for Unbreakable Will. If you happen to run Savage Oppress and you get Unbreakable Will, and you happen to notice that there's an ad there under 50% health, do not use Overpower. You might think, well, hell, Overpower does massive damage. Wouldn't it refill his health right away? That's what I thought too, except for when I used it. If Savage does the massive damage, it doesn't count as damage he does. You will notice that the damage is displayed as a white number instead of a red number. And for whatever reason, because the way that's coded, the damage is not attributed to Savage, so he will not heal. Now, too long to understand or a lot to follow. Don't use Overpower ever with Savage. Just don't do it. If you have him in this group, just basic the whole time. Overpower doesn't really do anything for you. So that would be a group I recommend. For those that did spend the money for Darth Scion, this is the perfect place to use him against an enemy Darth Nihilus. Now, hopefully others can get this group put together, can work it out, and I'll see how well they can do with it. But just a recap: Darth Nihilus, speed mods, Darth Scion, offense mods, defense mods, health mods. Really anything can work for him. Darth Maul, damage, as much damage as you can. Count Dooku, Savage Opress, if you use them, as much damage as you can. And Sith Assassin, you want her as fast as possible. With that said, hopefully you're enjoying the entourage or the montage in the back of the Sith damage and how they're performing. Included Phase 1 and Phase 4. It's pretty straightforward. Bash the crap out of Nihilus. Use Darth Maul to take out ads. And rinse and repeat. All you got to do. Hopefully this works out for some of you guys. Have a nice night, Chaos.